What's up, guys? Welcome to a whole new episode of Toy Addicts Anonymous. I'm the Badass Reviews, Carlos, and my brother.
Toy Addict 26 in the house. What's up, everybody?
And
Hey, Mega J Retro, what's going on, everybody?
what's up, man? How's everything?
Who's this guy? Nobody knows this.
I don't know.
I just
Dude, he's
here.
already part of the Toy Addicts Anonymous show, dude. Like
Yeah.
Jay, I don't need to present him like, oh, a friend of the chat, whatever. He is the channel with us, so no worries. So what's up, guys? How's everything? How's your day?
It's been a week, man. It's interesting, but there's been a lot of awesome new updates regarding our project and stuff, and really excited about Toylanta and what we're gonna bring there for people to see. So yeah, man, it's been
It's
fruits
crazy.
of the labor, man. Fruits of the labor.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like my day was terrible. You know how it went. But I mean, we're here to talk about cool stuff, cool toys. I mean, just be positive in life with everything, even if you're having a bad day like mine, like a terrible day. But I mean, it is what it is. No, for the ones who don't know, like we just bought like a new dental clinic, and Jorge knows. Like this morning, I called him and I was like, "Listen, dude, we just got a flooring on the office, so we just put the new floor, so we need to redo the new floor totally. So new chairs, dental chairs, and everything. We're spending around like 10K right now.
Jeez.
Like, yeah, terrible, and we didn't start yet. So, but hey, that's life. Life is good. Tomorrow is gonna be better, right?
Let's address that giant green dragon in the room.
I know. So let's say hi to the chat. Okay, so we have Michael Casper. What's up, man? We have Freak Figures. What's up? We have Blake here. David Orkin. What's up, Dave? Michael Casper again. We have Chris here. Chris Collier. How are you, man? Like we have who else? Baston. What's up, Adrian? Everything good? Ooh, we have Warlock here. And we have also Action Figure Girl. What's up? Let me see who else. We have a bunch of people in the chat, right? Yeah. We have Pedro Lopez. How's everything? Chris Kohler. What's up? We have J Mac. How's everything? Again, Adrian. And we have Mecha Man Blade. What's up? But hey, listen. We're here not to talk about me or my problems or anything like that. We're here to talk about crazy stuff, big stuff, green, right? Something about this, something about that. And we have one super special guest. We have a very, very special person, not just like a genius in the toy community, but also a great, great friend. Super cool dude. And hey, we have here Jeremy Girard. What's up, Jeremy? How's everything, man?
Guys, how's it going? Dude, you humble me. Thank you so much for those kind words.
No, man. Everything, I mean, you're an inspiration for everybody, man. Like,
thank you so much.
Since day one, I mean, I know you since when? Like, even before the Cabal, I think it existed. Yeah. That was crazy, right?
Yeah,
like back in the days. Back in the days. But yeah, I mean, guys, for the ones who don't know, Jeremy is one of the Four Horsemen, Four Horsemen Studios, Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, Figura Obscura, and so many other projects. Seven Kingdom, Gotitropolis, you name it. Masters of the Universe classics. I mean, come on. But Jeremy, how's everything and how's your day? I know you're a busy person right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, both professionally and personally. Someone pointed out that my shelves behind me are bare. I'm in the process of moving, so between everything else that's going on professionally, I had to throw that into the mix just to complicate my life even more. But but no, on the professional front, it's March is a really busy month. I just got back. I saw you down at MegaCon in Orlando in February, and then I was at ZoloCon recently. Next week, I'm traveling to MesquiCon in Michigan, and then I end at Toylanta. Just heard you guys talking about that, so I'll see you at Toylanta. So really, really busy month for travel, and there's always stuff happening at Four Horsemen Studios. Of course, right now, the elephant in the room or the dragon in the room is the big Bay Affair campaign. So that is absolutely dominating my time these days.
Yeah, and that dragon is just insane, man. Like, for the ones who were at Legion's Con, that big surprise right there, that was kind of like bring people to tears. Yeah. It was kind of like the end of a beautiful story, right? Like,
yeah, it's long time coming.
Let's get this. And when people saw that, I think was kind of like, wow, something incredible. So what came through your head when, like, seeing the reaction of everybody and what happened there in that specific moment?
Well, that entire presentation at G-Con was just very emotional to begin with. I've told this story, but, you know, when we were kind of backstage before the show started, you know, and I peeked out around the banner to see that room just full, like literally full, standing room only. I mean, it kind of takes your breath away a little bit. You know, we're a small company. We're a 15-person company, you know, and I think sometimes people like to say that we're punching above our weight class. You know, people seem to think that we're a lot bigger than we are, but that whole group, like our entire company, is behind that curtain, and to see all that support and all that love, it's absolutely overwhelming. And I mean, I'm obviously leading that presentation, so I know everything that's going to happen. And when you put together that presentation, it's almost like any kind of performer, right? If you have a comedian or something or a musician, they know where they're going to get the pops. They know where, like, the crowd is just going to go wild. So we very clearly had, you know, Otho 2 at the end of the presentation, something everyone's been asking for, kind of letting them believe that, like, oh my goodness, Otho 2, that's such a big reveal. But knowing we had one more, you know, trick up our sleeve to bring out that dragon, to separate those banners. If you haven't seen the documentary that Brad Treadaway did, Birth of the Dragon, it ends in the credits with that reveal. Every time I watch that, it brings me back to that room, and it genuinely chokes me up, because to feel that, because even though people kind of expected we were going to do something big, you know, everyone's like, the dragon, it's the 10-year anniversary, to actually wheel that thing out and see the size of it, to understand that, okay, these guys, they didn't go cheap. They didn't say, okay, let's compromise, let's make it smaller, let's make it less detailed so we can get it out. You know, I've been saying something that Cornboy said at ZoloCon recently, that we made a thing before we realized how expensive it would be to make the thing. And that's important, because so many other companies, it's all about price points. It's all about, like, well, it doesn't matter what this thing looks like, it's got to come in under a certain price. And we really wanted to make a Mythic Legions dragon with no compromises. This is what we want to do. You know, full disclosure, when we got the pricing back from the factory, we were pretty surprised that it came in as high as it did. And we realized that, oh, wow, we really, you know, made this challenging for ourselves with it. But the work speaks for itself. The end result of this action figure, I mean, it's so tough to talk about the work we do and still remain humble. But at the end of the day, I'm an action figure fan. I started as a super fan of Four Horsemen Studios. I collect a lot of other lines as well. As a toy collector, I am saying that there has never been an action figure out that is this quality, that is this size, this level of detail, just this amount of awesome in one package.
Man, and it's incredible. I mean, just that image of Trevor, and I remember Trevor was talking to us. I don't know if you remember, Jorge. We were talking to Trevor, and he's like, man, I struggle so much to get this shot with the small TV the small TV that I have here, and then the next week they just bought this giant one. But man, this looks like a movie. It doesn't look even like a toy.
Dude, for the record, the small TV, it's not a small TV. It's a big TV. It's small compared to Bayathere, but it's not like we had this little 30-inch television and we were like, oh yeah, use that as your backdrop. It's a good sized television, but when you're dealing with something of this scale, even something that is normal size is, dwarfed in comparison.
Yeah, no, and talking about size, right? Because that's one of the things that I want people to have kind of like a perspective of how massive this thing is, right? And I remember, I don't know if I have an image here that I think I pull. So this is one project that I support also because I'm a huge Warhammer Joy Toy collector, right?
Yep.
And they just recently came with this figure right here, right?
Yeah, dude. We saw that when we were planning out and getting pricing on Bayathere, this dropped, and we were like we looked at this and we said, "Wow, that is a similarly huge and incredibly detailed figure. It's absolutely gorgeous."
Exactly. So, and that's my point. I paid for that Paladin around almost $700 for the Paladin. The Paladin has good articulation. It comes with 118 figure, I think. It's insane, amazing, beautiful.
Yeah.
But my good friend Billy Beige came with this image right here. I think I'm gonna pull the image. Let me see if I have the image around here. No, let me see this one right here.
Yeah.
So for people to have an idea how massive this dragon is, so there you go. And that dragon, like you see it right now, like that, is $550. It's cheaper than that Paladin right there, with maybe double the articulation, maybe.
I mean, there's quite a bit. There's 50 points, I think just over 50 points of articulation in the dragon. I mean, it's a little tough because there's 17 in the tail alone, so I want to be totally honest. I hate when companies say, oh, there's 100 points of articulation, but it's there's 80 of them in the hands. When they gave the articulation for Ant-Man, which is a great looking figure, but so much of that articulation is just in the hands. There's 17 in the tail alone. So that's where a good chunk of it is, but it's got useful articulation. I mean, dude, it's a gigantic dragon. It's not Spider-Man. Obviously, you're only going to be able to hit so many poses. I know some people have asked, oh, are you going to be able to cradle him down and have him sleeping on a bed of gold like Smog? Probably not. It's not going to be able. It wasn't designed to get into that specific pose the way the torso is and everything. But you're going to absolutely be able to position this in some cool ways. Not only can you make it really big, but we showed some pictures last night that was kind of more compact, where he was kind of standing more erect, and it actually kept it the footprint was a lot more manageable than when you see that fully expanded tail and flame.
Yeah, I mean that figure is just impressive, and I love this image of Colin Cole. It looks like he's smiling to you in front of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so beautiful, this dragon, and I mean, I'm also challenging myself where I'm gonna put that dragon next to that Joy Toy Knight in my big table here in the front. I'm not gonna have space for anything. I don't know about you, Jorge. What about you?
I don't know, man. I mean, I made space for my gigantic cat slayer, so I mean, I gotta make space for the dragon. You know what I mean? What I like about it is what Jeremy pointed out: the 17 points of articulation alone on the tail. It already makes me wonder how awesome would it be to have it perched, on a castle, but have the tail wrapped around a tower, or something like that. You could just go crazy thinking of awesome dials and stuff that you could do with this dragon, man.
Yep, for sure.
It is crazy. That image, man, I was talking to Jorge before the show. We were talking about how massive that box is and how as a nightmare will be to chip all those stuff, man. Like,
we just got our cat's lairs. You know what? JP and I, and actually Carlos technically got it too.
But cat's lair is like a whole other thing because
but this is my point, right?
It's a freaking washing machine.
Exactly. This is my point, though, right? Like this thing rivals the cat's lair. Like, and
it does.
Thing,
yeah.
Holy crap! And that the Four Horsemen are actually going to take care of our boxes. You know what I mean? Like they're actually going to do right by the fans and make sure that the boxes are actually intact. Because I'm sorry, you know what? I'm calling a spade. We were all let down because I championed Super 7 as being the number one protector of collectibles at one point, because I received my Snake Mountain in pristine boxes, 2 boxes, multiple quarter protectors, and they let me down, man. They let me down. But I know that this is just an example about how it's going to be put together. But I know that this is going to come to us in pristine condition. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, you know who I think does a really good job of shipping large figures protected well is Mondo.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The stuff I've gotten from Mondo, the way they package stuff, everything, it's always come really good. But like I saw some people today questioning these boxes, like saying, do the wings really have to be in a box that big? And I mean, the answer is yes. If you look at the size, so the wings are one piece, right? Other than the disc with the ratchet. Those epic wings are literally one giant piece. And the way that like the arm from the body works is it's flared out. So not only is it really big, it's kind of deep as well. So the way that we have to do it is they're kind of stacked on top of each other. But when our factory's planning out the packing for this, we're not just throwing them in there with some, packing paper and saying, okay, good to go. We don't want these things to scrape up against each other. We want them to have nice inserts where it is going to arrive to you in good condition. But going that extra mile to protect inside the box, it takes up additional room. So again, large items, they're going to take up a lot of space already. But to your point, Jay, nobody wants to spend this much money and get it in, and the stuff is scraped up, and that's a nightmare. So that also leads to boxes of this size to ensure they're protected.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a challenge, especially like you said, like I believe like parts like wings, because they're like huge, right? To try to keep them intact, because like these people from the shipping companies, they don't care. They throw that everywhere. Mm-hmm. And these expanded wings, I mean, they're a big surface of plastic that can break. So yeah, that's going to be a really, really big challenge for you guys.
I mean, it's a challenge that's not that hard to solve. The answer is package it correctly. That's what it comes down to, is don't take corners, don't cut corners to say like, oh, well, if we go with less cardboard here, or we don't use the side inserts, or we don't use the foam here, like those all add money to the overall package, but they're going to get it there safely. So it comes down to something we always do at Four Horsemen: do it right. Like don't cut corners and take the cheap way out. Do it the right way. That's never going to be the wrong decision.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree with you. I mean, I just can't imagine having like an issue with, like a beautiful piece like this one, and when it comes to my house with all the excitement, right?
Yeah.
And you open that and it's broken or something like that. It's such a letdown.
And that's going to happen, by the way. Like, we can take every precaution possible. Stuff happens along the way. The goal is never to eliminate 100% of problems, because it is impossible. The goal is to take the proper steps to eliminate any problems that you absolutely can. Like, if you can minimize the problems by proper planning and proper execution, then those outlier instances where something does go wrong, yeah, you can get that fixed. You can do that, but you've taken the time to minimize it.
What really gets me is the sheer level of detail that is in this product. I mean,
It's
like,
insanity.
oh, just there have been dragons in the past, right? There have been, like, McFarlane's tried them. You know what I mean? So many different companies have gone, but they've always been stanchions for the most part. You know what I mean? They've never, like, for the most part. Usually they just have this one wicked stance you can move. Like, look, a really good example is actually Super 7. I mean, or JP and I are so disappointed. We're so I hate to. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm bashing on Super, but I'm not. I love Super 7. I love it to death. But the reality is that we need a better Tiamat, and it was just it's just a chunk, man. Sure. It's just a chunk. The legs sort of move. She can sort of get up a little bit, but her heads move a little. But that's not what this is. No. This is just insane amounts of articulation, insane amounts of detail, insane amounts of paint. I can't even begin to imagine, what went through with the development process on this. Like, for those of you who weren't at Legion's Con, you guys have literally no idea how big this actually. Everyone's like, oh yeah, it's 6 feet with the flame. It's not. It's bigger than 6 feet. I'm sorry. It's freaking gigantic, this thing. And then if you were to spread the wings out the way they're supposed to, this thing is taller than most play sets. I'm not even joking about that. Like, I keep talking about this, but I've got this beast, right? It's dwarfed. It is dwarfed by this huge thing. It's just absolutely crazy. I could not believe that Jeremy actually had the prototype yellow version, and they were actually moving it around in front of people. I was like, that thing's gonna break. But
the butter dragon.
Yeah, it was absolutely insanity. The feeling of the room was absolutely electric. I just could not contain my excitement when I was seeing this thing in person. Like, Emerald Knight Photo, all of us, like One Shooter, all of us lost our collective minds. It was absolutely insane. All the toy daddies lost their mind. Everybody lost their minds. It was just ridiculous. It was absolutely nuts.
Radish Sam have a question for you, Jeremy. Any chance to extend the funding period?
So no, there are no plans to extend it, and I've seen that request a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
The simple truth is, no matter how long we extend it, there's going to be people that it's not long enough. There's going to be people that are like, oh, I just need a little more time. We announced that this was happening back at the start of the year, that we were going to be doing it. A lot of people started saving up. The reality is we have a full schedule of stuff. So it may seem easy to say, like, oh, just give me another month, like make it 2 months, make it 3 months. There's a domino effect. Like, everything else on our calendar takes a hit, has to all get pushed back the minute that we extend this pre-order. It's not something that is easy for us to do. So at this time, we announced that it's going to be a month, and that's really what we kind of have to stick to. There are a number of funding options on there. I did my show with Big Dub last night, and he was talking about if you use like the shop service on Shopify, obviously everything's credit based, but it depends what your options are, but they offer a number of options, anywhere from 4 payments to 6 months to 12 months, a lot of them with no interest, some of them with some interest. It's going to depend on what your specific situation is, but there are definitely some options out there to at least spread the payments a little bit. But as much as I wish we could say, yeah, we're going to do it for 2 months to give people that much more time, there's just too much behind this that would be impacted if we did something like that.
Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned that, and that's one of the things that I wanted to address, especially here in the show, is that people were asking, like, oh, I wish I have like split more, like the payments, whatever, and this and that, and I told a lot. I already told a lot of people, listen, I did it through a firm.
Sure.
And I did it. I wasn't choosing the cheapest option, which was like, I think like a year, and you pay like maybe like $90 monthly or something like that, which is insanely good. And I think I was paying over the regular price, maybe like 80-90 bucks extra. Like I choose the 6 months one, which is like 180, something like that. And I pay maybe like $50 more. That's it.
Sure.
So that's an option right there for the people. I mean, if you have good credit, or I can tell you this: if you don't have good credit and you have a good friend that have good credit, or a family member, or your wife, listen, tell her, hey, can you please do the affirm for me? I want this dragon, whatever. I don't want people to think that I'm pushing the irresponsibility with anybody. I mean, I know, people, but that's an option right there for people. If you don't have good credit, talk to a good friend, talk to a family member, talk to your brother, your sister, whatever, or do it yourself if you can. But that's an option right there, that you can split the payments in 1 year or 6 months,
Well, I mean, so again, I've seen a lot of people say, I wish you guys had different payment options and stuff like that. We're not a bank. Like I think sometimes people forget that we're a 15-person toy company. Like, we are not in business here to finance this type of stuff. I wish we could, offer other options. I know a lot of people have asked for PayPal. We've told this story before. PayPal screwed the studio over really, really bad a number of years ago in the middle of a pre-order. They literally froze their accounts, wouldn't release any of that. So the studio's like, never again. We're never going to work with PayPal again. So I get that would help a lot of people. It's a business decision because of how they treated the company a number of years ago. So we've tried to set up a number of options for people. Like you said, man, I don't encourage anyone to make bad decisions. At the end of the day, this is a toy. This is an absolute luxury item. Nobody needs this to survive. This should never take, none of this stuff should ever take the place of the essentials in life. But all we can do at the end of the day is put out cool products, price them where they need to be so we can continue to run our business and let people make the decisions on their own. But there definitely are options for you other than just dropping it all down.
Like this option right here.
Yeah, local pickup. I mean, and that's an example of, like, we know that it's expensive to ship this. So we said, you know what? We don't normally allow local pickup. We used to years ago, and some people abused it. So we said, we're done. We're not going to allow local pick, because local pickup's a huge inconvenience for us, right? Because imagine we're running our day, we have a process, and then all of a sudden someone's at the door and you got to pull their order and stop what you're doing. And obviously everyone wants to talk, and we're social people, so we want to engage with them as well. It's an interruption with the normal process. So we don't do local pickup, but we made an exception for this because we knew that it would help some people out. Obviously, not everyone can take advantage of this, but for those that can, we wanted to make it an option.
Yeah.
And I seen this is becoming kind of like a trend. I seen a lot of people in the Facebook community, the Cabal, talking about they're gonna do a trip together. Yeah. There's some guys saying like, hey, I'm gonna pick up everybody in my route. If you want to come with me to pick up the dragon, let's go and do it,
You also got to think about how much space this damn thing takes up. I mean, like, there's like your warehouse can't possibly take more than 50 of these. These are gigantic. I mean, like, it's a huge inconvenience for the Four Horsemen. Yeah. So the fact that you guys are even doing this is just absolutely incredible. But it also does give people the notion and the understanding that you guys are doing everything possible to make it easier for the fans to actually get this, because shipping, like, again, just what we've experienced with Super 7, things can happen along the way. So it's always best, that there are other options out there. But I think this is a really encouraging sign. And I empathize with the PayPal situation. I've heard too many horror stories about, all of a sudden you go over your limit and they're like, well, you're doing something strange. We're just going to cut you off right now. It's the strangest. I can't believe how many business owners have actually lost like thousands upon thousands of dollars just based on the idea that, especially when they're doing like a Kickstarter or something like that, or some sort of crowdfunding, they literally are tied to PayPal, and PayPal literally cuts them off at the knees. I just cannot believe how stupid that is. It's just
the way they do business is very unfortunate, and it very much hurts some small businesses. It absolutely hurt the studio at a very critical time. Luckily, they were able to rebound and recover from it, but never again. Jay, I did want to go back a little bit and just kind of address something that you had mentioned. So like on the topic of the Super 7 Tiamat, I actually love the Super 7 Tiamat for what it is. Like the Super 7 Tiamat, it's a vinyl. It's like a vinyl designer toy. It's not a fully articulated action figure, and it looks like a cartoon cell. Yes. Like doesn't have a lot of paint on it, doesn't have a lot of sculptural detail. I think it's great for what it's trying to do. But to your point, it's not Bayethier. Like they are two wildly different types of products. And when you look at, because everyone's talking about the size, right? The size is the most obvious thing to see with this. But when you talked about the level of detail, that is really incredible. And the thing that blows my mind is, this was sculpted digitally. Everything was done in ZBrush. But Eric Treadaway, who does all of the Legion sculpting, he started as a traditional sculptor, and he still uses kind of the same process that he did when he was sculpting in clay. So even though a lot of sculptors today that are working digitally, a lot of native digital sculptors would probably have used like a pattern stamp or something to do all those scales, Eric sculpted every single scale on
No way.
Every single one. And he'll be the first one. Like if you ever get a chance to come to intern for a day and you sit in Eric's sculpting demo, he literally will say, like, I am not doing this the best way. Like there are much faster ways to do what I do, but he basically took his like analog skill set and translated it to digital. But just like with the Bodvar Bear last year, that he sculpted every strand of hair, every single scale on that dragon, he went in and sculpted it one at a time. So when you look at the size of this and how much detail is on it, and understand that it was hand sculpted, it was 6 months of Eric doing almost nothing but that. It is really an incredibly impressive feat of toy creation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We do have a couple questions. I think Peter at 827. I think we should at least talk about this, because again, there are options for how much you're going to end up paying for this this dragon. So Carlos, if you want to go to Peter 827. You're muted, Carlos.
Sorry.
That's good.
Peter 827.
8:27 p.m.
It's one of the last ones.
Or is that my time? No, it's one of it's all the way up. Look at the time code 827.
827. Let me go ahead.
Under Skeletor.
Right underneath Skeletor, yeah.
Okay. Wait a second. Here's Skeletor.
Yeah. One more down. Oh, wait, hold on. No. Four up.
Why don't I address that? So Skeletor says, sure. For the price, I feel like the extra fire-breathing dragon should have been included. Okay, that's a fair comment. It would have been more expensive. Like, this is a math problem. Like, at the end of the day, the factory says, hey, this is how much everything costs. Like, this is what it's going to cost you to produce this. And we have to say, okay, then we need to price this accordingly so we can continue to be in business. It's a great idea to say, oh, you should have included that. But a lot of those comments are being made with no actual idea of what any of this stuff costs. Just doing that fire-breathing head in that fire, like the reason that set is $150 is because those parts are very, very expensive. So totally get that people 100%. Are saying like, oh, you should have thrown that stuff in. It all should have been included. It would have been an $850 figure had we done that.
So J-Mac, I want to follow up with that. Matt Hatter is actually in the chat right now.
Yeah.
And myself, Matt Hatter, and these two guys right here. We're all getting into the action figure, design kind of situation right now. But I used to be on the inside looking. I used to be on the outside looking in. And I used to ask those same questions. Why don't you just throw stuff in? Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just do that? But now, after we were successful to fund Flipboard, we during the campaign, all of us were so excited, and we were like, let's add this. Let's add this bonus tier. Let's add this bonus weapon. Let's add this bonus. It was only until after the campaign was done. I'm going to put some inside baseball here, just really quick. It was only until after the campaign was done we realized, oh, wait a second, we got to pay for each of those freaking add-ons for a second, and we had to readjust our budgeting at that point. Right? I'm not gonna explain how that works because it's gonna take way too long. But what Jeremy says is right. Like you cannot just willy-nilly decide, hey, I'm gonna throw in a flame. Do you know how big that flame is? That flame is literally like almost a foot long. So the fact that it's actually part of an accessory set, I think that's excellent.
That's exactly. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's exactly what I was talking to Jorge. And because Jorge is the artistic part of the project, and when he start creating, he get like super excited doing like crazy stuff, and he's like, we should do this and that, and I was like, dude, let's press the brakes a little bit because then we can shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't want that, we don't want that. So that those things add to the expenses.
Well, not only do they add, but like what you guys are experiencing, Jay, what you're saying that you're finding out in the toy creation. The other thing that you discover is when you're working at a smaller scale, like when you're working with regular 1/12 scale figures, there's a lot of creative things they can do. Like especially when it comes to tooling, they can be like, oh, let's change around the tooling pattern. We can squeeze this in. We can do that. When you're talking about gigantic things, the level of flexibility to like, well, maybe if we just move it around here, we can squeeze it. No, you can't squeeze anything in. One of the things I've been saying is when you think about, if something's twice as big, it's twice as expensive. You get to a point where the multiplier goes up dramatically. Like you get to a point that it's not, this is 5 times as big. It's not 5 times as expensive. It's like 15 times as expensive. There is a multiplier when you start getting to giant projects like this. And it's literally why companies like Hasbro, there was a point that someone was actually saying, well, Hasbro can do it. Why can't they? Dude, we're not Hasbro. Like Hasbro needs to do these funding goals. A giant corporation like that needs to do these to make sure that there is enough of a demand for them to make that investment. We do not have the buying power. We do not have the production capacity that a Hasbro does, but we're trying to do something that is every bit as ambitious as their largest projects as well. So that's why we've had to, situate it the way that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, Jorge was saying that about the Galactus and stuff, right, Jorge?
Yeah, it's apples. I mean, it's not just. There's so many factors, and I commented in the Cabal about it because somebody was mentioning that, and I'm like, it's apples and oranges. True. The Four Horsemen studio is not a multi-million-dollar conglomerate that makes all these crazy projects and has all this money to invest. And then when you look at quality, Galactus is big, but Galactus is a quarter of the level of detail and deco that Beathir is. So you can't compare them at all,
I will say this, because I have Galactus and I have the Sentinel. Dude, I love those figures. Okay. They are super cool. I think that they are exactly what they need to be. But if we had approached Beathir the same way, I know Hasbro gets a lot of junk for not painting their figures, whatever. Dude, those figures are awesome. I love them. Because they are, smooth pieces of armor, they don't need the kind of paint that Beathir does. If Beathir was just molded in like a green plastic with a handful of paint hits, it would look similar to Jay to we were talking about with Tiamat, right? It would look more like a cartoon cell type figure. It wouldn't have that Legion's level of detail that we have. Dude, those paint hits, all of that, every inch of that thing is covered in paint. That is expensive.
incredibly expensive, absolutely ridiculous. And I
Yeah,
again,
it's
when
like
you
maximize this detail in that giant thing, you
Yeah.
know.
yeah, but when you see it, it's just unreal. It literally your
Here's,
eye cannot
here's
understand.
something that I don't know if anybody has talked about. Kind of surprised that I haven't really heard anything about it. But for a while now, people have been wanting Hasbro to do a second go at Dragon Man, not Dragon Man, Ping
Fing
Fang
Fang
Foom.
Foom.
Oh yeah.
If they were to do a new HasLab that were a Fing Fang Foom, it would be about the size of Beathir. It would probably cost around the price of Beathir, and it would not be anywhere close to the level of detail. And the biggest issue here too is you got to consider it's an IP product. If Fing Fang Foom was not a Marvel property and it was like an in-house thing that Hasbro owned, then the price could definitely be lower because it's their own IP.
Yeah.
But they got to pay Disney all these royalties, and that's what makes the price skyrocket. So, those are things to consider. It's really easy. People take like that outsider look and just say, oh, this thing is this big, and why can't you do it for this price? It's not that simple. There's a lot more moving parts, and there's a lot more factors involved in the pricing of these items.
Sure. Well, there's also a sense where, like, so I'm coming on here and I'm answering questions and I'm talking about this, but there's going to be people that think that the things that I'm saying are untrue. Okay. There's a comment saying, oh, all the add-ons were baked into the price. They weren't, but I can say that till I'm blue in the face and you're going to believe what you want to believe. People are so used to being just kind of lied to by sales and marketing because that is what a lot of people do. So when someone goes on and says, dude, this thing is a really expensive figure, we genuinely priced it as low as we could, we can't go any lower because it just wouldn't make sense for us as a business to be able to do that. We don't have shareholders to respond to and everything. This is a passion project for us, but we can't lose money on this project. That would be silly and irresponsible as a company. I can say that all I want. People are going to believe what they're going to believe. That is absolutely the truth. Yeah. But all we can do is come on shows like this, answer questions, and talk to our truth.
Yeah, so, talking about questions, I mean, this is a very interesting question here. Is RoboGeek 1973 is for Jeremy.
Yeah, you're spot on. So at one point we were talking about the wings and we considered making like the kind of the webbing part of it, like a flexible material, having articulation. And then we were considering doing what some people have done where like they're hard pieces, but they are kind of like separate. So they fold in on each other. And everything we were doing, it's not that it looked too much like a toy. It's that we knew that the more that we added into those big wings, the more likely they were going to flop and not hold up. So we elected, and that's why Eric sculpted a second set of wings and he sculpted this second head. Even though the main head has an articulated jaw, he wanted to do, if you look at the way that a creature, the way their face, or even us as humans, the way your face changes when you open your mouth, your jaw doesn't just like open up like a hinged action figure does. Your entire facial structure changes. The only way to accomplish that is with a second head. So Eric wanted the fully expressive wings, the fully expressive head. So yeah, kind of like what that question was stating is so it wouldn't look as much like a toy, so we could really nail the sculptural detail. Eric elected to do alternate pieces rather than just find a way to engineer it with some articulation.
Yeah, if you see that, actually in that image, when he's throwing the fire and the mouth is open, even the horns go like a little bit more backwards. Yeah. You know, it's not like that high.
Yeah, we did the same thing with Bodvar the bear last year. So when we did Bodvar, we didn't do an articulated jaw, and Eric talked about this because an articulated jaw, you know, it just kind of opens and closes. He wanted it to be a roaring. If you ever look at the way a bear's face looks when it roars, the way that its nose scrunches up and everything, That's what he wanted to capture. So we're doing a lot more of that. For years, we didn't do expressive faces, and Eric's really started getting more into doing those alternate heads that have that moment in time style expression.
That's awesome.
So there's a question, and I think this is important because there seems to be some confusion by some people. Judge Dreads at 843 is saying, my question is, why can't we buy the figure separately so we can at least support the campaign without going broke? I think that is a valid question, but I think just like other campaigns, in my opinion, anyway, there are incentives to continue, to support the project. I mean, that's exactly what Hasbro does. That's what Mattel does. Everybody does this. And, it's very important to do these things because, it gives confidence into the actual project itself.
Yeah, it's for anyone that's ever tried to do something like this. The goal here is not to sell a whole bunch of Ashen Skeletons and Ashen Zombies and Sir Benegars. Those are all super cool things. The goal of this campaign is to fund Beathir and the add-on packs. So all of those items were created to add more value and more incentive to accomplish those things. At the end of the day, toy collecting is a hobby. We are all excited to get these things, but there is a very real business aspect to being able to move these things forward, to get these projects to actually come out. So to be able to do this, it's not just about, let's allow people to buy as many of these figures as they want. That's not going to get us to our end goal, because there's going to be some people that say, well, I just want to buy a bunch of those figures. I don't want to buy the dragon. We want people to buy the dragon and be rewarded for doing so with the figures.
Exactly. I totally understand. Terrence Next Toy has actually a really good comment at 848. Four Horsemen equals masterpiece quality at an affordable price. The Sir Gideon figure versus any similarly priced NECA. I mean, that's in many ways, that's exactly the way a lot of people are probably looking at this, that this is a masterpiece edition.
And I do need to address this. Anyone that has Sir Gideon, please don't judge us based on that figure. That figure was an absolute gift to the fans, okay? We sold that way, way cheaper than we should have. That figure... Trust me, when we saw the costs come in for that figure, we were like, wow, we really should have upped that price. But it was intentional because that wave had so many deluxe figures. We were like, hey, we want to do a standard figure. We know this one's going to be a little bit more expensive than some of our normal figures, but let's put it out there anyway. So unfortunately, sometimes when you do something, everyone you go above and beyond, everyone holds you to that standard every time. And they say, hey, you did it before. Why can't you do it every single time? Well, we did it that one time to really, as a thank you to the fan base. But I love that comment about the masterpiece quality. Sir Gideon, if you guys got that one in hand yet, that is Sir Gideon 2 is an absolutely epic figure.
Yeah, and that's one of the things when you were talking about the figures that are included on the campaign. That Dragon Knight, it is insane.
Very cool.
It is beautiful. We understand, as far as I understand, it's gonna be a unique head and unique pauldrons, correct? Yep. They're not gonna be used again. Yep. I mean, that figure, and this comes, it brings me to the point where Trevor was talking about it. And Trevor, I think he was in Geek.live, and he was talking about that specific fan that wants the figures, right? And he was like, well, look at this, like this, right? You get the dragon, you get all those figures included, and picture this. For example, maybe like the expanded wings are gonna be maybe the less in quantities, maybe, who knows? Then you're gonna have that figure that was included there that is gonna be super rare. Yep. And he's looking at that at this point, and I think that's very interesting because not everybody look at this point. He's like, listen, you can sell that figure. I will pay. And I know Trevor. I know Trevor very well. Yeah. Trevor is like, I will pay $100 for that figure, for just the black one. If it's a deluxe one, like the Dragon Knight, I paid $200 for that figure. And he's like, and right now I'm making deals with people. So if you don't want the figures, talk to me. And there's a bunch of people like that too. If you want to resell them, the reselling price on those figures are going to be insane. Yeah. I'm not encouraging people to do that stuff, but it's reality. It's something unique. It's something that is going to be rare. Yep. Not too many units made, and we know already how much like figures like the homage to He-Man, to Skeletor that you guys did back in the days in PowerCon, how much they are right now. Wave 1 figures, insane.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this guy.
Yeah.
This
your favorite.
That's it. That's my favorite. But it's like it's insane. And I always say to people like, hey, listen, if you want to have a beautiful dragon, amazing dragon, the best one ever in your collection, and you don't want or you don't care about the figures, and you collect maybe Joy Toy figures, or you collect Marvel Legends or Masters of the Universe, and you want a big ass dragon to fight your action figures, there you have. Sell the figures. You don't need them.
And lots of collectors do that. So I mentioned that I have Galactus. I don't have any of the figures with it because I literally got it from somebody in a trade where they wanted the Silver Surfer and the Nova and everything. They didn't want the Galactus. And I was like, you know what? I've got a Silver Surfer in my collection. I've got, I had the figures I wanted, but I wanted that Galactus. So I was able to, work out a deal, and they ended up what they wanted. I got what I wanted. I call that collector math. There's a lot of people that are like, hey, I really want the figure. I'll resell the dragon, or vice versa. But to answer your question, Carlos, to reinforce what you just said, yes, we did announce that the new head on the Dragon Knight Sir Benegar and the new pauldrons, those were sculpted specifically for that figure. Again, tooling isn't free. We're going to pay to have all that stuff tooled. If you know Mythic Legions, you know that we reuse parts. That's how we maximize the investment. We've already said we're not reusing those parts. They're only coming on Sir Benegar. So not only will we not re-release that figure, we're not going to use those parts again. So anyone that's like, I'll just wait till they use it down the road and I'll repaint it to be Sir Benegar. No, we're not going to do that. Wow. We want this to be special. We've never done something like this. We've never had a project like this. We want, again, to reward all of those fans that support this project and help us get this made. That figure is going to be a very special figure that only comes here, and those parts are going to be very special and only come on that figure.
Wow. Well, and talking about, I don't know, somebody mentioned something about, I think it was Mega J talked something about packaging and stuff. I know Nate Barch is going to be, of course, like in charge of the art. I wonder how beautiful those boxes are going to be.
Yeah. Well, Nate's done. I'm trying to think if Nate did Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain. I know he was involved in those projects, but I don't know for sure whether he did the packaging art on those boxes. But yeah, if you look at those gigantic, Masters Classics boxes, that's what this is going to be like, where it's not going to be a window box. It's going to be a solid box, and it's going to have some very, very cool art on it.
Man, I can't wait.
Have, like, different packaging per the tier, or it's just going to be the same art replicated on the different boxes?
Oh, good question.
Epic Wings, are the Epic Wings going to have the same art replicated in a different dimensional?
I don't actually know that. I don't actually know that yet. When we just got we measured all those boxes out and everything. We're going to have to get the die lines from the factory to plan all that out. That's all stuff that, it's funny you ask, because we were having a chat today specifically about, the different options. Is it, like you said, is it the same piece, different ways? Is it, like a triptych where you've got different parts of the scene that go together? There's a lot of cool things that we could potentially do with it. So we'll kick that off. Right now the focus is on getting it funded and then we'll have the art call to talk about the box art in full.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jorge, I think he went over my question because I was like, so talking about that, the figures itself are gonna come. I think you mentioned they're gonna come in separate boxes, right? Like the Mythic Legions ones, right?
Like the
The
blisters.
individual figures.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We already said that. So they're not just going to be like bagged and in the box or whatever. They're going to be carded on Mythic Legions packages. So when you open that box, kind of like when you opened up the His Tank from Hasbro and you pulled out that Cobra Commander and it was on a card, same exact thing. These will be packaged like any other Mythic Legions figure.
That's excellent.
The only thing I will say is if the upgrade sets open, so like Sir Benegar unlocks at 2,500. His upgrade set unlocks at 3,000. The upgrade set's not a separate package. Like if we're upgrading the figure, it's not like a weapons pack or something. We're going to improve the figure. So if both of those unlocked, which we all hope they will, the Sir Benegar figure in the box will have all that stuff in it.
Yeah,
right.
That's excellent. There's a question here, and I wonder if it would help eventually, but I know it's very difficult to get this achieved with paint masters and with prototypes because they're just so delicate. Liquid Momentum at 839 is asking, is there a more detailed video of the full articulation of the dragon?
So yeah, you're right. The dragon that we showed at Legions Con, it's 3D printed. So that is a 3D printed gigantic piece that's held together with glue and screws and everything. We cannot move it. Carlos, I think at Legions Con, when I had that butter dragon and I was playing around, you took a video of me playing around with that, correct?
Yeah.
So that's on your channel. You can see a little bit of me doing that. Additionally, on the afternoon show, the 4-ish o'clock that we do on the Four Horsemen YouTube channel yesterday, we did share some photos, some videos from the factory of them moving the dragon around a little bit with the ratchets. It's still a prototype. It's still, not the full injection molded, but that's one of the reasons we can't show an articulation demo. This doesn't exist as an actual movable action figure yet. Part of what we're doing here is ensuring that it's got the support for us to go forward into that process, to spend that money on the tooling, to go into production. So I've seen a lot of people asking for an articulation like demonstration. It's just something of this scale and this fragility. We can't do what people are actually asking for. It's just not possible.
Yeah, it was actually fun to see you playing with that butter dragon. I mean, it was like a big dog, and you were moving. I mean, to be honest with you, everybody that were there, they were really impressed with the range of articulation on that butter dragon.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when they were like posing him and everything, I mean, it looks really smooth and everything. When I saw those little clips from the factory, those and you haven't even say it's just a prototype, like early prototype. The ratchet joints, I mean, the clicks on those ratchet joints were beautiful. I mean, the sound was beautiful.
The big difference with the one from the factory, besides the material, is like all the pegs that go in. If you look at the peg on a regular toy, it's got kind of a mushroom at the top. So it's a little bit expanded. So when it pops in, there's something that grips and holds it in there. On the prototype, they're just perfectly smooth kind of pegs. So if you put them in, they all fit, so you can see how it all fits. But it's just in there with a little bit of friction. Any movement, it's going to fall out. So even in those videos, when they start moving the legs, you can hear the ratchets. But there's one point where the leg starts to pop out a little bit. And we're always hesitant to show stuff like that because we don't want people to say, oh, look, the legs aren't going to stay together. It's like, okay, we're looking at a very, very early prototype. It's that kind of decision, right? How much do you show early to answer questions, knowing that some people aren't going to understand? They're looking at a super early prototype and it's not 100% reflective of the end result. Or do you hold it back and not show it until it's really, really dialed in, but then everybody's like upset that you're not showing this. It's a science to figuring out what to show when.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be cool, and Mondo's been doing it a lot lately, and I like that, is when they do the explosive view, where it's the ZBrush explosion view, and it breaks down all the tooling. So you could see all the articulation joints of a disassembled figure. So
Sure,
if you guys showed something like that, people will be like, oh, okay, so the talons have, swivels, and there's a ball socket here. And, obviously some people might look at it and they don't even know what they're looking at, but other people that are probably more, knowledgeable of these things would probably understand what those joints are.
That's a good point. We did do a breakdown on the afternoon show yesterday of where the articulation is, but that's a good suggestion. I'll see if I can get one of those blown apart views. I know I don't have one right now, but I'll see if I can have one of those generated that gives a better sense of all of the different pieces. We did that for our Cosmic Legion's Ox Crew figure because it was a new build and it was very popular. To your point, people could kind of see where all the pieces were and how it's going to move.
Yeah, people were asking actually a lot. I've seen like a lot of questions about like how the neck is going to articulate this and that. And I was telling Jorge, I don't know if we touch that topic already, but I believe there's a big portion of the toy photographers and toy collectors and stuff like that who love the breakdown on the articulation and every single part and stuff like that. And people were like, somebody asked me, Carlos, can you please ask that question if they can kind of like break down, put an image, doesn't need to be like anything crazy, but just like to point out where the articulation are on the dragon. And I mean, it's a valid point,
Makes sense for sure.
It's a valid point. But
Somebody
yeah, I mean,
last year it was an interesting question.
Where?
It was I just read it. Hold on. It was like they were asking basically why is it that nobody has posted an image?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, it's Wyatt at 9:00. Why is it nobody has pictured the next two retail mainstream Hasbro Mattel figures that are non-Legion collectors to give them a better sense of scale?
Yeah. Honestly, we just took those photos like yesterday. So I have those ready to go with, some Marvel Legends figures and stuff like that, people may be familiar with, because it's a good point. We showed it with Legion's figures, right? And we were like, oh, this is how it's going to look next to a troll and a horse and a 1.0 figure. But this is the kind of campaign that's going to go beyond just our little, Legion's universe. So there's a lot of people out there that may not know the scale of our trolls or our horses or whatever. So there's no context. But if we throw it up against, a Marvel Legends Spider-Man or whatever, people are like, oh, I know how big that is. I have that in my collection. So I do have that image and we'll be able to share that.
Oh, you collect Joy Toy. There you go. You have right there on white 118 figure next to the dragon.
Yep.
I believe the actual regular figure is almost 7 inches, so a little bit smaller. So I will say maybe a Marvel Legends is gonna reach maybe the knees of the dragon, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to see if I can find the photo, to be honest with you, because I'll just share it right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be great. And Jeremy, do you guys post anything about the how advanced is the backing right now? I know Jay posted this image right here.
Yeah, and I think that's actually yesterday's post.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
But yeah, so today we're over 1,100 dragons so far. I know the fire set is the one that, in terms of close to funding, it got over that 750 threshold today. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yep. Very exciting.
Did you guys ever consider, I know that I talked to Carlos about this and he said it was already mentioned, but did you guys ever consider doing sort of like a saddle that you could put on the dragon, and then that way, for example, Sir Benegar could be like a dragon rider. Did you guys ever think of doing that? Like,
yeah, we did. So we considered it, and we decided not to do it for lore reasons specifically. So the minute you put a saddle on something, it becomes subservient, right? It's a pet. It's a rider. It's something that's being ridden. It's a beast of burden. In our lore, no one's riding Beather. He's a god. Like, these are god level characters. So it's literally like putting a saddle on Zeus. That's not going to happen in our lore. Now, we're not saying that there's never going to be a saddle for the dragons, that we won't ever do one. But for this particular character being one of the pillars of the first world in our lore, we decided not to do the saddle just because it didn't make sense for the character.
It's like putting a saddle on Granomir.
Well, there you go. And then there you go. Granomir's in this photo. So exactly what you were asking about, we've got a Black Series figure. We've got Granomir from O2 Classics. There's a NECA Turtle here. There's a Lego G.I. Joe Classified. There's a Marvel Legends Spider-Man. There's a Glyos. Of course, there's a California Raisin. That's a little bit, it's a little wide.
There's a Lego figure in there too, actually.
There is a Lego figure in there. Yep.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
I think that covers pretty much every genre right there. That's crazy.
And I love that pose, to be honest with you. That's the pose that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and I had one that even had, that's got, and you know what's cool about this too, is a number of people have asked, can I use the add-on set head on the standard neck? And this shows that you can. So that is the standard neck that comes with Beather, not the extended one, but it's got the fully open mouth on it as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I showed the one I showed yesterday, it had the closed mouth, the one with the articulated, so it looks a little more stoic, but it was the same overall pose.
Oh, I love that. And the fact that you can bend that tail like that, and pose the figure like that, very like steady like that, is better, at least for me, to display in my toy room, because it's gonna reduce the space.
It is. And that whole, so from kind of like the base of the dragon's like hindquarters to where, if you look down, you can see there's a point where kind of like the pattern changes a little bit, the way that it's positioned. Every one of those pieces is articulated. That's parts of that 17 different points. But when you get to the end of the tail, the whole end of the tail is bendy. So you're going to have a lot of ability there to curl it around and reduce the overall footprint of the dragon if you are trying to get it in, a little bit more of a compact space.
Yeah. Trevor actually just sent me a photo. He says, Jay, sent you an image someone put together for scale as well. And this, if you're into play sets, this is actually quite telling how big the dragon really is.
We're having a Trevor exclusive. And Jeremy exclusive. Look, that image right there. I love the fact, Jeremy, you were when you were, I think it was Eric that was talking to me about the dragon. I don't remember, at Legion's Con, when I asked about the tail. Do you guys decide finally how it's gonna be, not the articulation map, but how it's going to work? Because you were talking about first an inner connection or something. Yeah, how it's going to work.
No, I think they're still figuring that out.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to share that image really quick, Carlos? Somebody put this on the Cabal.
Where's the image?
The ones that says MJR. Scroll up.
Wait a second.
Down here.
Okay, here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, these are gigantic play sets, and my God, you can even see King Grayskull right there at the bottom.
Yep. And now this is obviously the photo that we just shared was a real photo of all those figures together. Mm-hmm. This is more of an approximation based on the sizes, but this is very well done. Like this gives you a sense. And I mean, that cat's lair is just next level huge. It is so impressive in terms of how big it is. But even comparing this to all these giant play sets, that is still a really big toy with this Bayethair dragon.
It's funny
to the Castle Grayskull, man.
I'm looking at my cat's lair right here, and I saw the dragon at Legion's Con, and I can honestly tell you this dragon is bigger.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Here.
I was
about to say dwarfish here in this picture.
King Grayskull is at the bottom. He's only 5.5 inches. So it to me it's a nice try, right? It's a very. I mean, obviously you can only go by whatever you have, right? But
yeah,
I think the dragon is actually much bigger than this.
It's bigger. It's bigger. Way bigger.
I think the dragon, the top of his horns on his neck would probably reach the Thundercat's emblem on the chest of the castle.
Oh,
I don't think it would be like that. That looks too small to me.
Yes.
Specifically because I saw both. I have one here, and then I saw the dragon in front of me, so I know how big that thing is.
Yeah.
It's not...
I think it is much better to go with the official picture because this again, it's a great try, but if you don't actually have it in hand, right, it's very difficult to really
and we don't have a cat's lair, at the studio to shoot it against. I know that I know Eric has a Castle Grayskull, but it's probably on display somewhere.
This is a good approx to me because you saw the image that I show about the knight a person holding the knight. And let me go back to that one.
I think that's a lot more accurate.
Yes, you look at the size of the knight. This is a person holding the knight.
Sure.
Right? And this is the dragon next to the knight.
Yeah,
and that's the vibe. When Jeremy was holding the dragon, there's a famous image of Jeremy holding the butter dragon.
Yeah,
and it looks pretty much like that scale.
Yeah, it's like holding the dragon, dude. It's like holding an animal. Like it is when you get this thing, and I mean, just moving it around. It is. I mean, I have a 12-pound dog. I have a little mini dachshund. This thing is much larger than my dog. It is genuinely the size and the weight of a small dog.
Yeah.
Or medium dog, I guess.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, that's what Trevor says. Highly recommended watching the 4 o'clock Horsemen from yesterday. Yeah, I saw the clips, and so people can see the articulation working and stuff like that to have an idea, right?
Yeah, there's also, I mean, Chris shared some really interesting stuff. Like he was, for those that, aren't involved in toy making, he shared a bunch of photos from the factory of what molds look like. And it was really cool to see. Like he showed the mold for Frankenstein's coat. And, if you have the Frankenstein, the coat, it's not a small piece, but it's not gigantic. But to see the size of the mold in order to make that one piece, all of the extra metal that's around it, the point he was making is that's just for that one little piece. The parts to make the dragon are many times larger. Like the size of those tools and the weight of those tools is going to be absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, totally. There's a person. It will be very expensive. The dragon will be considered more expensive. You will have added audio of a dragon sound. Man,
I love kind of like gimmicky toys like that for what they are. I don't think that a roaring feature would have made a lot of sense in Bayethair. Would it have added cost? Yeah, I mean, maybe not a ton, but it just wouldn't be appropriate for something like this.
Yeah, and somebody said something about this, and I want to bring that to the table, like on the price, right? Because if I was talking to one of my best friends, Jason, and we were talking about actually how much is a premium format statue of a dragon, right? Like that size.
Sure.
And that's like a dragon like that goes for around $2,000 easily, like that big, right? Like that big. And I was checking also, there's in the Warhammer community, the people who build the minis, right? I was checking actually yesterday a video that pops out, and I'm not into miniatures or anything like that, but somebody was like saying something about the prices.
Yeah.
An Imperial Knight, like pretty much the same one that I showed, the action figure. An Imperial Knight like that, it's like the Mars whatever, Paladin whatever, costs around 2K.
Yeah.
And it's like it's maybe smaller or the same size of the dragon, and it's a miniature that you need to build, you need to paint, and it doesn't move.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
$2,000.
Oh yeah, I mean, another thing that we announced at Legion's Con this year was our partnership with Sideshow Collectibles, right? So I'm not a statue collector myself. Sideshow does amazing work. Yeah, I mean, this is the size of basically a Sideshow statue, but to your point, it's articulated. This is going to be something that, fully moves and everything. You're going to be able to get different poses with it. So comparing it to a statue is certainly not inappropriate. It's statue scale, but action figure articulation.
With all the details and everything that a statue, or maybe even more, because I've seen statues that they're more based in maybe like more cartoonish, maybe more like, comic accurate. They're not like that detailed just because of the style, but they're like super mad expensive. And I say, listen, you have this dragon that is so detailed that looks like a statue if you see it like in your table, but it actually moves, and it comes with all those extra action figures and all the extra parts and stuff like that you can create anything you want. That's, to me, honestly, Jeremy, that's insane. What you guys are doing, it is insanity, man.
It's not for everybody. I mean, one of the things we knew doing a project like this was, some people were going to love it. Some people were not going to love it. There's going to be a lot of, backseat quarterbacks that were telling us what we should do. At the end of the day, I said it earlier, all we can do is make the coolest things possible and price them at a level that makes sense for us as a business. That's what we did here. If someone, doesn't like it, doesn't want it, that's cool. Maybe you'll like the next thing we do. For those that do love it, dude, thank you so much. We appreciate you supporting this and helping us get this thing made.
Well, talking about people liking stuff, tell me about this guy right here that you guys show up at ZoloCon.
Yeah,
this is taking the internet by storm also. Like, man.
It's a fun figure. That legendary barbarian is a fun figure to play around with. So I got it, I've obviously seen the prototype and all that, but I got mine in hand weekend of ZoloCon as well, and I could not put it down. I was sitting there in the hotel room just playing with that legendary barbarian. It is something very, very cool.
Who came with that idea?
Eric. What's amazing about that figure is there's very little new on that figure. Right? That figure is 95% existing Legion's parts. The head, the alternate head is new. And technically the lower legs with the boots are new because we retooled them to work a little bit differently. But everything else, the weapons, the armor, it's all existing parts. Eric wanted to do, we called it Legendary Barbarian because he wanted just to do like a very iconic, almost like, generic barbarian. It's not a named character. The bio we wrote for is basically, it's like a legend that people tell in mythos. But we just wanted a cool figure that we knew would, cross a lot of boundaries and, something that people that just like that kind of classic, sword and sorcery, sword and sandals type fantasy would enjoy.
Oh man, that figure is insane. I did the review on that figure, and I think I'm like over 2K views on just that figure because people are going nuts. What happened?
There's so many possibilities with that figure. You wanna do a Conan, you wanna do a Thundar, you wanna do a He-Man. It's like there's so many pop and swap options and things like, and it's funny because he's not considered a deluxe figure. He's like a standard convention exclusive, you know, but the things that were strategically included with the figure were so smart, so dead on, you know. Like it's an awesome figure.
Yeah, guys, I gotta get going, but I wanna thank Jeremy so much for taking the time to
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And you know what? I am excited.
Thank you, Jay.
I am so excited. I put a link to the crowdfund in the chat. Guys, please support this project. Like, honestly, this is the dragon that everyone's wanted. This is a dragon that we all deserve. I know it's a bit pricey. I know that there's going to be a lot of hurdles to get through the way, and I know that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, don't worry, the last few days it's gonna fun." You know what? Nothing's guaranteed. Brian Brink is in the chat right now, and he knows firsthand that things can go sideways really, really quickly if you forget. A lot of people forget. Really quickly, Jeremy, when is the end of the campaign so that people continue to be reminded about this?
Sunday, April 6th. So it's pretty much a solid month. It started on the 7th of March. It goes to Sunday, April 6th at 11 p.m. That's when the campaign will be done. I imagine that's going to be a very busy and stressful weekend because even our normal pre-orders that end on a Sunday, we get a lot of activity in that last weekend. So I'm fully anticipating that's what we're going to see here as well. Whenever we do a pre-order, there's always people that are like, oh, I messed up the time. I didn't realize it was East Coast time. I thought it was next weekend. But normally they can just buy it from retailers. It's like, well, you missed our pre-order. You missed the discount, but you can get it from retailers. Beathair is not going to be sold at retailers.
No.
I am sure some retailers will sell him, but they are buying it from us at this price and are going to then mark it up. So just like you see retailers sell, Super 7, the Cat's Lair and the HasLabs at higher prices, if you see it there, that's what you're going to see. So if you miss that deadline on April 6th, that's it. It's not going to be offered elsewhere.
Yeah, and guys, remember, there are payment plans, the ones that can be offered. There are multiple ways to actually get this. And if you are in the local area, you can actually pick it up to save on shipping. I mean, the Four Horsemen are doing everything they can to make this a possibility. And this is just something that it's a once. I don't think it's short of saying this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't think I've ever seen an articulated dragon this good. As I said earlier in the show, I've seen dragons before, but they're all literally stanchions. I mean, we just talked about Tiamat, which is a gorgeous dragon, but it's not. It's not this one. This one is a very special dragon. And unfortunately, if you miss out on this one, guys, that's it. Like, there's only one chance to get this one. I don't think it's going to happen.
Matt Hatter said it himself. Matt Hatter said, "You can always throw your plasma."
I know.
Thank Jeremy again for taking the time out tonight. Thanks, I have to go, but you guys keep talking.
Thank you, Jay.
Jay.
I wanted to let everybody know, myself, JP, and Carlos, along with Jeremy and the Four Horsemen, we're going to be at Toylanta in the next couple of weeks. So you guys got to be there. You got to see everything that's in store. Talk to Jeremy. Talk to everybody. Are you guys bringing the dragon there? Because I think everyone would love to see it. I don't know if that's a thing.
So I wasn't sure if we could really make that work, but there were so many people in my live stream last night that were like, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. So we are doing what we have to. Wow. As of right now, it looks like Beathair is traveling to Atlanta.
Nice. That is incredible. And you know what? Once you see it, guys, I think your minds will change because this thing is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Guys, please check out the link that's in the chat. Please support this project. Again, this doesn't the real thing you got to support here is the artists behind the project, the people who make this a big thing, and the fact that every single scale was individually sculpted. That is absolutely insane. Thank you, Jeremy. I will see you guys soon. Keep talking.
Thank you, Dave.
Guys, in Atlanta, man.
Support this project, guys. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Have a good night.
Jeremy,
Jay needs to go to
Atlanta. Not regarding Beathair, but aside from the awesome news that he's going to be there at the show, are you guys going to have Necronominus figures available for purchase?
That's the plan. So we we're very hesitant to ever say what's going to be at a show for the very simple reason that if I say, yes, this figure will be there, and you show up halfway through the show and I'm sold out, I don't want you to throw it back in my face that, well, I made this trip specifically because you said it was going to be there. So we're always very hesitant to say what will be there. And I say that with the caveat that everything we're bringing is limited because we can only fit so much in the van. But the plan is that, yes, we will have some Necronominus product there. They mentioned on the afternoon show that it looks like the direct pre-orders, it's taking us so much longer than we expected to get these pre-orders out. It's just when you guys get your toys and everything and you have to start shipping those, you realize that fulfillment is a whole other beast. But we underestimated the complexity of some of these orders. George was saying yesterday that like one order that's a complex order can take a picker an hour to put together just to get all the different pieces, pack it up, make the box, because some of these big orders need custom boxes made for them. So it really does take a lot of time, but it looks like at some point next week, all the direct orders will be out, which will free us up to bring these to shows. We didn't bring them to ZoloCon because we were still shipping. They should be at Toylanta along with the Legendary Barbarian and a bunch of other goodies.
Yeah, that Legendary Barbarian, I know is going to be one of the ones that they're going to go like this.
Yeah,
that's going to go fast. And
yeah,
I mean, everyone's talking about eBay prices and stuff. Legendary Barbarian is selling very high on eBay right now. Everyone's going to make their own purchase decision on what they want to spend and when they want it. But to be very, very clear, we are bringing the Legendary Barbarian to every show we do this year. A small show will have a small amount. A larger show, like Toylanta, will have a larger amount. We will sell out at the shows. We will have a decent amount to go around. And they will be at the show after that and the show after that. And then as we get towards the end of the year, we are going to also make them available online. We did a set run of these so they could be in stock. We cut the run right down the middle. Half of them are coming to shows. Half of them are going online.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be a good chance like for people. Yeah, because I think people hesitate a lot, especially because you have that rush. And that happens to me a lot. When you have like that rush that you want that figure right now in your hands. Like you get that FOMO and then you see people taking pictures and enjoying the figure, and I understand that, and I seen the figure. I mean, that figure going for $150 on eBay, which is like 3 times the price.
Yeah, it was a $50 figure at the show.
But at the end of the day, and I always said this because I'm one of the guys that always, for example, with San Diego Comic-Con and stuff like that, I know by Jorge and by Jay and other people the hassle that is being in the lines for San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah,
and the lottery, the stress, and everything. So when I buy exclusive from San Diego Comic-Con and I pay $50 more for the figure, I'm like, listen, I'm saving hotel, food, price on the ticket, stress. I don't know if I'm gonna get it the day I'm going to the con. So paying $50 more for that, come on,
Yeah, and again, like you said, everyone has to decide. We're trying to reward people and give them something cool if they come out to the show and hang out with us. But at the same time, we absolutely know that not everyone can come out to a show. We know that some people, it's just not feasible based on price, distance, whatever. There's a myriad of reasons. That is why, like I said, at the end of the year, we will also make it available online. We want to do the shows first. We want to reward those people. But then towards the end of the year, as long as you can wait, we will have some available. Or as Terrence said, we saw a number of people at ZoloCon, running those figures and getting them for other fans, saying like, hey, someone in the Cabal is, looking for one of these, I'm going to pick one up for them. So that absolutely happens.
No, yeah. I mean, I talked to some of the guys and they pick up that one for me, thankfully. I mean, I talked to Van and Benny. I mean, they were like, brother, whatever you need, we can help you out, whatever. So thankfully, I mean, and like it's what I said, it's the relationship that you make at the Cabal with the Four Horsemen community, like how everybody's always trying to help each other. And I always said, like when people ask me about Legion's Con, I always said, listen, Legion's Con is not just about the toys, it's about the people. It's about the people, and hey, here we have Dark Layer. What's up, Bill?
Yep.
Look at what he said.
Yep, another great perspective.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
Yep.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool that you guys are going to do pretty similar what you did with the Valiant Knight.
Yep.
And other of the figures, I think, like the skeleton also.
Yep. I mean, the big difference with, the Valiant was a Legion's Con surprise figure, and then a few months later, we dropped them online. Same thing with the Ninian Infantry this year. The big difference with the Barbarian is it's our touring figure. So, we're going to bring that to every single show. So there is, something to look forward to. Because the reality is, Toylanta coming up, there is the Toylanta exclusive ATL 25.
ATL 25, yeah.
That's going to be sold by Toylanta. But we can't do a figure, like an exclusive figure for every show that we do. So the Legendary Barbarian kind of fills that gap, and it allows even us to have, even at the smallest shows, something that's like very desirable and fresh and new and harder to find for those people that get there and get in line early and get to our tables.
And for the people who don't know, this is the first time you do like an exclusive for all the cons?
Yeah, we wanted to do it previously. The Undead of Vikingfell that was in last year's retailer wave, we were going to do a touring figure with that, and we just couldn't get it into the production queue at a point where it would arrive like near the beginning of the year. So it was going to arrive like mid-year, and we were like, we're not going to be able to bring it to every show. We're going to bring it to half the shows. So that's why that one got put into the retailer wave. But the way this one worked out, it didn't come in time for us to bring it to MegaCon, but it at least came early in the year so we could get like 90% of the shows covered. So to be able to do that made a lot of sense.
Oh, wow. Listen, I think that figure was like a key. It's going to be a key for most of, and this is one of the things that I believe you guys help so much all these cons with the presence of your fans, because, and I've seen this so many times, like for example, at PowerCon, I still remember the last two PowerCons when Jorge was with me in the last one, and I remember the line for the Four Horsemen Studios was, not pun intended, but it was longer than the line to go into the actual con.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that you bring to cons, just by the fact that people wants to buy your product, and not just
it's because you just said it, Carlos. It's not just I want to buy product, right? It's about, hey, this is an experience. I'm going to see people that I interact with in the Cabal and, my friends. Like there is a camaraderie that you don't really understand until you go experience it. And that's an important thing. And I'll tell you a story. So 2 years ago, we did our first ever Toylanta, right? And Brett, who is running Toylanta now, this was before he took over. So this was the gentleman, older gentleman that are running for a number of years. And we did the show, had a great show, had a ton of fun. I mean, Atlanta treats us so well. We love going there. At the end of the show, the guy came up and he shook our hand and he said, I want to thank you so much for coming. And he said, I was so worried because I've been talking to other show promoters and every show in the area is down. Like every show has got less attendance year over year. We're really struggling in the collectibles market right now. he said, I was expecting to take a step back. He said, this was our best year ever. We had the most attendees, the most engagement. And the thing that we changed was bringing you guys in and your crowd in. So thank you so much for helping us have our best year. And like when you're dealing with this guy that puts his blood and his sweat and his time into that show, and he's thanking you for something like that, for just doing what you do, coming there, selling toys, and just meeting people and having a good time, like, dude, that is what it's all about. That is genuinely why we love to partner. That's why, Carlos, I love doing shows like Toylanta more than I love doing giant shows like MegaCon. Because MegaCon is great for the spectacle of it, but whether or not Four Horsemen are at MegaCon does not matter. MegaCon is going to be absolutely awesome and insane whether or not we are there. But the fact that we can go to some of these other shows and actually make an impact and make a connection and help out that small show promoter, dude, that's a win.
Yeah, and it's so awesome because like you said, people don't understand till you are like part of that community, right? Like when I like the best example I can put is like one of my best friends from Panama, Pablo. I bring him to the show, right? And he flew from Panama to my house and then from here to New Jersey. And at the end of the day, he thanked me for such an amazing experience that he had. And one of the things that he was blowing away was like, we were in the build your night experience in that little room, and it was his birthday, and I was talking to Nate. I think I was interviewing Nate Barge, and I talked to Van and I told him, listen, Van, Pablo's birthday is today. Nice. So Van screamed and announced that in the whole room, and everybody started singing happy birthday to him.
Yeah, that tracks. That sounds like Van.
That was one of the most beautiful things ever. And trust me, he will never forget that. And he was saying to me at the end of the show, he was like, Carlos, I can't believe how people were so nice with me, so humble, everybody, because it was so hilarious. At one point, Jorge and me, we were talking to Robo in a room, right?
Yeah.
We were showing him the prototype, and Pablo was going shopping somewhere. When he came back, he entered to the room and he saw Robo there. And he always seen Robo in the TV, like in YouTube. And he saw Robo and he's like, that's Robo. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God, nice to meet you, whatever. And listen, that experience when he was talking to you, he took pictures with you, with Nate Barge. He loved Nate Barge. Everybody, he was like, oh my God. And I was like, well, this is what Legions Con is about.
Yeah, for sure.
Just what you experience. That's it. So man, I mean, Jeremy, I know you're really busy, man. You're a family man, super busy. And listen, Jorge and me, we're super thankful.
Thank you
for the time you share with us. Listen, this dragon is, to me, one of the most amazing things in the whole action figure and toy community.
Thank you.
Ever. I collect Four Horsemen stuff since Masters of the Universe Classics.
Yeah.
Man, Wave 1, Mythic Legions, I support them since Goritropolis, Seven Kingdom, everything. And this is kind of like the end, not the end of Four Horsemen Studios, of the end of Mythic Legions, but this is, I mean, after this, you guys need to make like a fortress.
This is not the end. Like, this is not the culmination of everything we've done. This is the start of everything we're going to do. So, look at it that way. If you've loved what we've done for Legions up to this point, I've said before, we're just getting started. You know, we ended the Rise of the Dark Force story arc. We're putting together the book so people can actually read that full narrative. But the plans that we have, the projects that we're working on, the figures that we are developing, Beathir is going to get a ton of attention, as he rightly should. But this literally is just the beginning. The best days of Legions are absolutely ahead of us. And like I said, guys, thank you for having me on. Thank you to everyone that's backed the campaign so far, and for everyone that's going to back it before the campaign is done. Getting closer to that unlock, getting closer to that that funding goal, and then we can get to those stretches.
I need those accessories on the skeleton. I need the soft goods on my Dragon Knight.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, I need everything. So people, please support this campaign. Trust me, you will not regret spending whatever money you're spending on this toy. This is going to be the centerpiece of your collection. No matter what do you collect, you can collect Joy Toy Warhammer, you can collect Marvel Legends, SH Figuart. You can use it as a Dragon Ball dragon if you want. I mean, you can make your own stories. You don't need just to collect Mythic Legions. This is an epic action figure for your collection, no matter what do you collect. Yeah. And with all the love and talent Four Horsemen Studios are putting on this, it is incredible. It is incredible. Trust me, guys, you will not regret that decision, even if it costs your marriage. No, just kidding. Jorge, you want to add something?
No, I'm just super excited. Can't wait to see the dragon again at Toylanta. And I have no doubt that this thing is going to fund. Whether everything's going to go over the limits and stuff, it's yet to be seen. But I have no doubt that the dragon will fund the expansion.
I do not doubt the Legions community. The Legions community is absolutely unlike any other. I have no doubt that we're going to unlock those stretch goals, and before all said and done, we're going to get our dragon plus much other cool stuff.
Exactly, and we need more dragons down the road. More dragons.
That's the plan. Get the first one funded, and then we've got the ability to expand in the future.
Oh yeah, more dragons. Well, Jeremy, again, man, last words for everybody on the chat. I mean, and for all the community, the toy community, the Mythic Legions community, the Four Horsemen community out there. Jeremy?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Any last words? Any last words?
I'm saying, I didn't catch what you said that you beat.
Don't worry.
Dude, again, thank you. No last words beyond thank you to everyone for their support and for having me on tonight, guys. I'll see you next time.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, I mean, again, thank you so much for being with us here at Toy Addicts Anonymous. This was an epic show. I mean, again, thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you so much for your time. Me, Jorge, I mean, this is your house. Every time you guys need to be in the show, whatever, this is your home all the time. I mean, you guys are like family to us. Not just friends, but like family. I feel that, I mean, we share so cool stuff, like not just in Legions Con, but the whole community since forever. I mean, it's just awesome and to see this dragon becoming a reality for the community.
So, let me ask you a question. So at Toylanta, because we saw the prototypes of From the Realm at Legions Con, are we going to see more stuff at Toylanta? Are we going to see some more painted stuff or anything? I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Jorge. Really excited to say that we do have some really awesome stuff, new stuff that people haven't seen yet.
Nice.
We may even have an articulated demo figure. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some really exciting new stuff that people haven't seen. And we're just getting ready to launch this Kickstarter, hopefully sometime in May, if things go well.
Yeah, we didn't want to interfere with the dragon. We're like, listen, everybody needs a dragon, so let's let that vampire, and from the realm after the dragon, we're
We
good
got
with
the vampires in the casket for now.
exactly.
They're dormant.
But yeah, good.
You heard it here. Those vampires from the realm, they're going to display very, very cool with your Baethier dragon.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, guys. Yeah, a lot of good news from the realm also. I mean, but right now it's a dragon time, guys. So support Four Horsemen Studios. I mean, Four Horsemen are like an inspiration to us, like Jorge especially. I mean, we're like super fans of you guys and all the support since day one. The I always say to everybody how inspired and humbling experience was to having your visit at the little booth that we were there, and you spend maybe like 40 minutes talking to us about like all what we need to do, not to do, all the advices, all the good tips you give us. I mean, that was priceless, man. That was.
And hopefully it helps. And as I told you there, whenever you guys just need someone to bounce some stuff off, my door is always open.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being with us again. Thank you to the chat. Thank you, Jeremy. Everybody, see you later, and to the next show.
Go buy a dragon.
Bye, guys. Buy the dragon.